Welcome to the Hound's Tales podcast, your home for field trialing and deer dog hunting. Stories and discussions on the world of dog hunting. So drop the gate and cast your hounds for another episode of the Hound's Tales podcast. All right, everybody, welcome to the Hound's Tales podcast. Tonight, a bonus episode. You are getting to get part 2 this week. Normally I do every other week, but I have a very tight schedule this week. We are prepping for the Southern Classic at Billy Pools this weekend, so my time has been cut very short, so I did not have time to do a blog. So instead of a blog, I'm going to present y'all with part 2 of our episode with Mr. Billy Gray and Outdoor Dog Supply. So we're going to roll right into it. At the beginning, I find it very comical how the beginning of this episode gets started, and it kind of gives a good background on how the conversation went for the whole night. But well, let's get into it. Tonight we talk about the Outdoor Dog Supply, some of the up and coming products that they have, some of the new products that we use all the time, and I hope y'all enjoy this. Like I said last time, just as much as I enjoyed recording it. So again, part 2, Mr. Billy Gray, Mr. Beach Billy, and Outdoor Dog Supply. Here we go. So let's switch focus a little bit here real quick. We're creeping up on the hour, so okay. I definitely want to be able to. I definitely know it's been great, man. It's been perfect.
Yeah, it's only been an hour. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here. I can go a little bit of sleep. I'm a field trial person. I can go on a little sleep as possible. So.
Oh yeah. I'm good for about 30 days, but when I finally crash after a field trial and you get home, I'm also worthless for about a day. So.
Yes. Yep. My wife has learned that Sunday when I get home from a 3-day, she just count me out, honey. Just count me out. Yes, I'm home, but I'm not here. I'm still not here. I promise you.
Oh yeah. What also might have to do with the high consumption of alcohol and
that helps.
Hanging out with buddies and having too much fun. Yeah, that's
correct. Yeah. So let's
4 o'clock mornings come early.
That's right. So let's go ahead and plug your Outdoor Dog Supply, man. How did you get started in it? And how long ago was it? And how did you get started?
Well, I actually did. So we've been in business for forever. It seems like I started with underground fencing years and years ago. I think it was '99. And so I'd always been in the dog business, and I had actually tried to get in the beep beep collar and that side of the world, but we used to have a little company here called Carolot, and they happened to be the biggest catalog distribution for wildlife in Johnson.
Okay, yeah.
Of course, the 2 biggest beep beep collars, period. So it was so I'd always tried to get in that side, and it just never happened. And so as soon as the Garmin stuff, good buddy of mine, and here's how it was. I didn't sell the first Garmin collar. You know, it's matter of fact, I don't even think I ever sold a new 30 collar, but I'm pretty sure that I've sold more 30 collars than anybody else in the country now, because we still get them used and still sell them.
Wow.
But yeah, so what had happened was I was hunting North Landing Hunting Club out in the swamp. Buddy brings him over, is talking about these GPS collars. I'm already telling him it's not going to work because the battery life isn't long enough. And so, I'm one of the critics like they had for years.
Right.
And so he said, well, I'm going to bring him and put him on a couple of your dogs. I said, oh, come on. I put it on Dallas, which is one of the best dogs I ever had.
Right.
So we put it on a handful, and I'll never forget. So out there, we hunted the hill. Well, they jumped and went all the way to the river, did a big loop back, and I'm looking at this thing in absolute amazement. Like, holy, it's the old 220. Didn't have a map, but you still had your, I had the topo on there, right. So you could see where the river was. And so the dog gets coming back, and it stopped out there on one of the hills.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that dog stayed from about 10:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was her and another dog. It was 2 of them out there. I'm sitting there looking at it. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they come off the hill trying to work back to high ground. They jump, ran the deer up there. We killed it. Now, Any other time I'd have said, they've been out there running that dog in the swamp all day long and finally drove it to the hill and we killed it. Oh, no. She sat out there, sunned herself on an island all day long, but happened to jump a deer coming back to high ground. And so oh my God, so it'll tell you, not only will it tell you what you don't have or what you do have, but it'll tell you what you don't have also. And,
make a liar out of you real quick, won't it?
Oh my God. And so the very first field trial I went to, I called Al and I said, man, you mind if I borrow some of your collars? He said, it's fine. So his dad coon hunted is why he originally got them, and then we had used them a little bit at the swamp. Mm-hmm. And I went to the field trial, and I'll never forget, I think I took 7 dogs, and I had 6 GPS collars, or was the other, I had 8 dogs and 7, but it was right there somewhere.
Right.
I had the 7 dogs with GPS collars up before trophies, which I had never done before. That was unheard of back then with beep collars. I mean, every time we went, it was 2-3 o'clock in the morning before you got your last dogs up. Ooh. And the only dog I did not put, old Dot, I did not put a damn I only had a beep collar on her. I had to go pick her up the next day.
Oh, my gosh.
Goddamn, I got the phone call, and I had been home, so I stayed up. We looked. We drove all over. I left about 10 o'clock that night, drove 2 hours home, and I got the phone call an hour or so after I got home. I got your dog. Oh, my God. So thank God I got somebody to go get her, went up there, and I had to drive 2 hours back up there to pick her up the next day.
Golly.
And, so at that time, it made me realize right then. And so I told my wife, I said, well, I'm not hunting without them. So I said, we're going to figure out. And back then, we were doing the underground fencing, and it had its feast and famine. And during hunting season, I can tell you, there was a lot more famine than there was feast.
Right.
And, but we were in the dog business. So that's what we did, the underground fences. And we had, so we started looking, and we had one of our distributors that we bought batteries and collars and different things, did sell the Garmin. So my first stuff I ordered from a distributor. Right. One of our stuff for the pet fence things, and we're like, well, shit. And so next thing you know, my buddy wanted him to order a system, and next thing you know, I'm getting my phone's ringing off the hook, and we're like, well, damn, if we can get a little better deal. So make a long story short, we found another distributor for a short amount of time that we were getting those a little better of a deal, and within 6 months, I was already doing more of a volume than we were doing in the entire pet business.
Wow.
And so we had to sit back, and within a year, and so I'm wasting I'm not wasting my time, but I mean, I was still out putting fences in and service call and brakes. And, we started to weigh the options, and we're realizing, which one had more potential for growth. One, we were already doing a volume of money that we are doing in the other, that we had been doing for 15 years. And so we sold the pet fence side of the business, and we went 110 miles an hour in the dog stuff, and we've never looked back. And,
awesome.
we created the website, and, we've always had a store on eBay and Amazon, and we haven't always, but we got to where and there we sell more like our accessories and different things, because you still find that there's a lot of people that feel more comfortable shopping. But there's like a lot of your Garmin equipment we can't sell on eBay or Amazon. I mean, everything we do there is either through the store here, or, of course, we ship online. And it's just gotten to where we've been very, very fortunate. We move enough volume now that we're like anything, I think it's anything over $200, we do free 2-day shipping.
Yep.
And those are all things because we're just able to move enough volume now to where we can, pass those on to the customer. And it really we warranty all our collars. I can tell you there's times that we send bins of collars back that you got to put in 2 boxes because they're way too much for one. And, so those are things that, which everybody's had Garmin long enough to know that it has its little spurts of good and bad.
Right.
But I will say this now, since we're talking, and I don't know, it's getting ready, but we now have a new TT25 collar, and we have a new 300. And the 300 is just a really nice upgraded version of the 200. It's got a lot better battery life, a little brighter screen, and you can share groups of dogs. That's my 3 favorite things. But the collar, oh my God, the GPS units that were break, you can change. The battery, we're getting 70 hours out of a battery with the new dynamic mode. Austin, right before you called, my buddy called me that I had the pin with.
Right.
And that's what he was telling me. He's like, man, he said the battery, he's been hunting. He hunted 3 days. He hunted 3 days before he even charged his batteries again.
Yeah.
And, you just couldn't have done that in the past.
No.
And it's just so nice because, like, there's a lot of days, like, we go up to Emporia, we hunt Fridays and Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
And in old days, man, I've got charging blocks and shit. I probably still got clips of stuff hidden underneath the truck and in the. I mean, it's just, everybody that does any of that, or same thing, you go to a 2-day hunt. Oh, my Lord, now I can charge the collars and go to a 2-day or go to a 3-day, and your batteries are fine.
Right.
Oh, in the old days, I mean, again, you're out there trying to find a charging plug. You got $1,000 worth of equipment sitting out there you got to worry about, or it's in the motel room, which is even worse.
Right. Right.
Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
I think I'd rather have it at the pen, and I've always felt more safe there. But
Yep.
And so those are things now, and the collars are about the size of a mini, but you're getting double the battery life you were on a full size before. And like I said, you're going to find now that if something breaks, they're selling the parts. They made it so they're interchangeable. So that they have. Listen, I can tell you, we have hundreds of hours of input and different things that we talk. And I'll at least give a Garmin one thing: at least they are trying to better it,
right?
And which they have definitely done, and they are listening to what we say. So.
That's awesome.
I'm definitely not going to defend them on the part it's perfect, because I can tell you we could be here all night on things that I would complain about a little. But
I get it.
Like I'll tell you, so I had to set one up about 3 days ago, and we worked hard to get all the settings in the thing. So when somebody gets it for the first time, most of the settings are going to be where they are. Mm-hmm. And I swear on my life, every time they do an update, that shit disappears.
Huh.
I don't know why they can't get it glued in it, but you have to go in there, and I had to turn my dog communication on, and then you got to go in there and turn all your alerts off, and then you got to go into each specific dog. Now that you have to do regardless, but
right.
And for anybody that knows, if you want it pointing or treeing, or I just turn it all off. If my dog's pointing or treeing, either I know he's bayed, or the son of a bitch is laying down, and I'll be honest with you, I really don't want to know. So,
right.
especially when you're at a 4-hour hunt and he's treeing 3 hours into it, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. So
when that symbol changes over and make you sick to your stomach.
That's right. Yeah, sometimes it's just better not to know. I'm telling you. But no. So the equipment and all, I will say. We are really, really happy. They saw some of the improvements in the X collars, but the disadvantage with the X was it really was a little more of I hate to say an emergency collar, but people have no idea the struggle that 2020 had with parts.
Right. And,
you had entire industries shutting down, and that stuff was happening overseas. And so, it got the new technology, and even the X collar. Now I'll say they're bulletproof. We have had our new ones going out. Our returns are very, very small. Right. So now I might get in there and Chad tell me, what the hell did you say that for last night? But I can tell you, it's definitely, when the X's first came out, I think they really were pushing and trying to get them out because they needed to get them out. And we did have some issues at the beginning, but between the two of them, unless there's a really big price break between the two, which right now there's none. The new collar, it beats it far down. Oh, and for the pin guys, here's another thing. My daughter, absolutely. You got like 7 different lights on it.
Yes.
Color-wise.
Yes.
And so, man, for all of us guys in Virginia that run at night, especially in the summertime, man, you can basically run 14 dogs and know who they are right easy.
Right.
And because you can have 7 different colors on solid and 7 different colors flashing.
Yep.
And that blue is blue as hell. That yellow is yellow as hell. Green is green. Red is red. And there is absolutely no screwing up a color. And they did them on the corners of the sides. And I'll tell you, when you get in there, it's like, holy. And I tell you what else is nice too. Hey, if somebody else doesn't have collars on, your dogs always look like they're in the lead.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
They can be dead last, but if you can't see the dogs in front of them, they're always in the lead. So
we were running last weekend. It's so funny you said that. We were running last weekend, and I had my 25, and I had the blue light on. And my buddy had gone down. We were catching up. We had turned all the lights on, and that dog had his blue lights. The only 25 I got. It's the only 25 that was in the pen. So that dog had a blue light on. And I had given my buddy a beer before he walked down trying to go down and catch. or
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he come back up and he handed me the drink. He said, I don't want whatever's in that drink. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I swear to God, I just saw a blue light come by me and I didn't like it at all.
Dude, I'm telling you, that is absolutely awesome. We but
He said,
the first time.
Go ahead.
I would have drank it either if I would have known what was coming through there.
He said, I ain't ever seen no shit like that. He said, there's a damn blue light come by me, and I didn't know what the hell to do. He said, I just turned around, went back to the truck.
Oh, dude, I can tell you now, that's what shit. The first ones we ever had lights, when the 15s first had lights, I'll never forget this. So old Mikey, I had gone out, there was a dog in the swamp. Well, he used to be one of them ones, I'd tone him, and he would do it just to be a jackass, I swear. But he'd go the other direction, he'd go out to the last road he had been to. Fine, all right, I knew that. Well, man, I turned the lights on and had him on. He ran out to the road, and I go and turn, and I damn way off in the distance, I can see 2 headlights coming. I'm like, oh, God, he's going to get run over. I like to almost run over him myself. It was him. It looked like 2 headlights in the distance. Then it was Mikey. Yeah. So no, even back then we, started to use them lights when at nighttime, just dogs come out. I can't tell you how many dogs get picked up on the outside. It'd be the edge of evening. You turn all them on and the club members actually see the dogs. Right. And,
yep.
But with these colored lights, and I mean, they are bright, and the way they put them on the sides, you can see them from all angles way better than you could, the 15s, you could only see if the dog was facing you.
Right.
Where now, the way they're wrapped around the corners, it makes the dog safer, especially on the outside, but even in a pen, I mean, everybody knows, you get driving around in a pen, sometimes it's no better in there. You can't see sometimes, right. Or a dog pops out. These are all things at nighttime that definitely make them safer.
Oh, it's huge. Like you said, I mean, and me and him talked, like you said, mixing the lights up. I told him, I was like, man, we don't have to jack it. If everybody gets, if we get 14 dogs in here or whatever, and turn these lights on, we don't have to jack it no more. We can turn these lights on and, it's one less thing to worry about as a dog in there trying to watch numbers. And we can watch these dogs and know what light is out in front. It's not like you have to put a jacket on,
No, if you light all them dogs and we had done it, I tell you, we used to have them, which we still do, but they had them little tag-on lights that you could put on.
Right.
And they were fun to watch at nighttime. But the problem with those is, one, a pen dog puts a lot of abuse on something. Right. And so those lights... and then the other part was, you always had to worry about batteries and turning them off. And, I'm telling you, with it built in right there all the time. And the nice part is, too, the battery or the lights barely, they really do not affect battery life near like what you think they would.
Okay. I got
so you can turn them on, too. And it's not like, especially the flashing one. The flashing one, I don't think it affects but a couple hours. The solid one, it might cut your battery life in half, but I mean, it's going to go from 60 hours to 30 hours. I mean, still, it's way better than what we're used to.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say, because that's what I told him. He was like, because, I was talking to my buddy. He was like, well, that'll kill the batteries. I said, man, you're not going to kill this battery. I said, I accidentally left my 25 on in the truck after I ran one night. And 2 days later, I got home at night and turned the key off, and I saw a blink in the back seat. I was like, what in the hell? And I turned around, and sure enough, the 25 had been on for almost 3 days. And I'm like, oh, my God, that is incredible. That is incredible.
It blows your mind. And I mean, and if anybody isn't happy with that battery life, one of these years, so they're supposed to be out already, but or they might, they're like any day, should be pretty soon. They're gonna come out with an extended battery. It's just a little bit. It'll drop the collar down a little more, but it's gonna double battery life.
Wow! So
literally, it's gonna take that 70 or 80 hours, and it's gonna turn it into 140 hours.
Good God! I mean, what do you need that much battery life for? What are you doing? What are you going?
What's gonna happen is it's gonna make it worse because now I'm never gonna think I have to charge my collar.
No joke.
No joke. But I will tell you where some will use, and obviously, obviously the big thing is going to be, which I can also remember. So I remember guys that ran the pin that went back to full size because the minis, they'd run 2 or 3 times without having to change batteries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of pin guys now. If you're running 4 or 5 hours at a time, think about it. You wouldn't have to charge that battery half a season.
Right.
So, it's something where they're always there. They always work. You turn them off after each time. It's just one less thing that you have to worry about.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, like here, when I was talking about those huge chunks of swamp,
right.
That was one of the things for the longest time. A lot of these guys around here still had to run beep beep collars, and beep beep collars a lot of times would affect the GPS. But you had to run something because there's just times that you can't get to a dog, and he might be out there for 2 or 3 days.
Right.
And what this has really helped now is, if you get a dog out there for 2 or 3 days, you go, he's at the river. You go jump in the boat, you ride around there, you get him. Where, even with the regular TT15 collars, especially if you ran it for most of the day on a 2.5 second, I mean, it was going to be dead by the middle of the next day. And so it really is opening up, too, to where these guys that run in the swamp and all that, it's going to make them feel a whole lot safer to run there again, for the fact that, because it just takes sometimes, it takes a dog a couple of days to get himself out or get to a place that you can call him out.
Right.
And,
right.
So that is one thing that's absolutely wonderful. And these collars do have a sleep mode in them also, and that can save battery life even more. And that's where you can actually turn the collar off, and it goes more into like an old Tritronics mode. So it's not talking to GPS. It's not sending a signal. All it's doing is sitting there being on, waiting for a signal to turn it back on.
Gotcha.
And when you're in that mode, you literally can have a collar for weeks.
Wow.
It burns almost no battery life. And so, it's the sport, I will say, that is one thing. I mean, if you think from back of the old beep beep collars, it didn't change for 30 years. The technology has changed very quick and very fast.
Man.
And
the evolution is fast, man. It's so fast.
It is. But I will still say this. If I'd bitch like hell, but if I had to go back to DC 30 collars and a 220 tomorrow, I could go back to that.
Right.
If I had to go back to an old wand and a wildlife box and a damn old Johnson collar, I would struggle something terrible. I don't know if I could do it.
I ain't sticking my hand out the window and freezing with that damn wand out the window trying to find a damn beep. Ain't doing that no more.
It hurt like hell me trying to put a damn Snoopy thing on my sunroof right here. Yeah, the old we did. That still was probably the best Christmas present I ever got in my whole life, though.
Yep.
All the days of riding around with a damn wand over top like this, like you said, 35-degree drizzling rain with your hand out the window, trying to track a dog. Oh, freezing to death. And I finally got that and drilled a hole in the middle of the truck and God, barely missed the spline, but I will still tell you to this day, boy, I was a proud son of a gun sitting there turning that thing going down the road with a little box up here, and I didn't even have to roll down the window. I will never forget that. Man, I was proud.
Oh man, now, let me pick your brain on one more new feature. What's the deal with the where it searches and finds different frequencies? I haven't been able to really understand that whole deal.
Well, and I'll tell you again, that's going to be, and I think you're going to see that more when somebody's going to a coon hunt or it's we field trial. It's so hard to pull up when there's $200. Because I got bad news for you. There probably ain't a free signal out there.
Right.
And now I will say some of the guys at the hunt club have been using it a little bit. They seem to like it because you get there. But the problem is if Joe's not here today, as soon as Joe gets here, guess what? They're clashing again. Right. So I jump from so many club to clubs and all that. We've always kind of found it's easier to. We'll get in there, and like when I start hunting up in Emporia, I've been hunting here the whole time. We'll hunt for the first 2 or 3 days together, and I'll change whichever ones I need to that seem to really be interfering. Right. And typically that'll take care of the problem. Then I'll give the numbers to everybody, and we track all year long, and we're great.
Gotcha.
But, so I'll try to make whatever changes I can because typically your first couple of days, you're going to get most of what's there. And then if we can get rid of it, every time I get rid of an interference, I fix somebody else's too.
Right. Right.
So, and that's where, but we hunt in so many places, and then we go to field trials, and then we go for me to sit there and just stop at a hunt every time and go, oh, let me see if there's any other frequencies. It's not practical for at least what I do.
So that
but the guys that are hunting with a few dogs, it's really good.
Yeah. So that was a question I had been asked a bunch of times was, can you go to a field trial where there's hundreds of dogs and find an open frequency? And I told them I had no idea, but it's good that you clarified that, because I was unsure about that my own self.
Well, and see, and what happens sometimes too is so you basically think there's 100 channels, and so people ask all the time, well, why doesn't Garmin do more frequencies? Well, the biggest problem with frequencies is, so Garmin would love, but basically what the engineers have explained is you have 5 MERS frequencies. So the government has only allowed 5 VHF frequencies that are actually truly free to the public. They're called the MERS frequencies, and that's what Garmin has to run the collars on. The sad part is, again, this is something to where government just hasn't caught up to the rest of the world, where there's not a damn boat going up and down the intercoastal now that doesn't use a cell phone.
Right.
And so, same thing, most police stations. So VHF there's so many more open channels now, yet they don't want to relinquish those frequencies. If they'll relinquish more frequencies, we will have a lot more openings, and then it makes it much easier. But that's what they say. So you can take a frequency, and basically what they're called is they're breaking it up into different modulations.
Right.
And so you're taking that frequency and you're cutting it into little pieces and you're making it digital. And so that is how a collar tracks it all. Because if you really do think about it, if you think about being in a field trial, we got 200 dogs. There's 200 collars sending a signal out every 2.5 seconds. It's amazing that your box can pick up any damn one of them all and let know. I mean,
right.
It's mind-boggling. But how it's working is these signals are very short. And so kind of imagine, so it's sending all this information across in just a little teeny bleep. And so your handheld's catching that bleep. And so that is another thing. The more people that go to these 25 collars, the way the technology works is every time a dog stops, it kicks it into a slower frequency when dogs are in trucks. And so that's also going to help to where there's less of those signals in the air.
Gotcha.
And those are also things that are going to help the box understand which collar is which. And so that is one of the things the engineers have said is the more people that go to these 25 collars, we should see interference get less and less. And they've also, that's one of the things saving battery life. Obviously GPS has gotten to where it's using less, but they're also figuring out how to send technology in shorter and smaller bursts. And it's kind of thinking with your radio, because you're talking VHF. Mm-hmm. So if you key your mic and it takes you 10 seconds to get information out, well, obviously that's going to burn a lot more information than if you can key the mic and get it all out in 1 second.
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of what they're trying to do with these collars is the shorter the burst that they can get all the information they need out, the better, the less interference we're going to have also, because it's frequencies that don't interlap.
Makes sense.
Or modulations that don't interlap. So
that makes sense.
And that's the other thing. So, and a lot of people, so this is something that we see a lot now too with the 300, and every damn body in their truck's got a Bluetooth on, and and this is something too that you're going to find if you seem to really have a lot of trouble tracking. Mm-hmm. If you're in the truck a lot and you don't seem like certain days you can't track more than 700-800 yards, and now you got to remember too that box is always trying to pick up those signals.
Right,
man. There are certain devices, Bluetooth. There's some secondary alarm systems in trucks. So always get back. So if you really seem to be in a vehicle and you're struggling to track, and you don't seem to be tracking near as good as your buddies and all that, get in there and cut your Bluetooth off. If you've got multiple handhelds, go in there and cut your dog. Oh, my Lord, I just did this earlier for Austin. It's your dog data. So, that's the one that sends the information from the handheld over to, like, your drive track.
Oh, yeah.
And those types of things.
Right.
If you're using a drive track or a tread, make sure it's just that one handheld that has that on. That's just one more thing that's putting interference out there. And so, yeah, that's another thing that you're going to find is – these things now, these 300s, they're looking for Wi-Fi signals, they're looking for Bluetooth signals. So they have a tendency it seems like they have a little more of a tendency to take interference from extra signals out there also.
I got you. That makes sense.
So, which really we saw in the 200. I'll be honest with you. I think they've got the 300 a little better. I seem to have less and less problems. where the 200, if I had Bluetooth on the 200 and I had, like I said, two other handhelds, which sometimes I'll have 4 or 5 in here, just we're
Right.
testing handhelds where, I'll charge my 10 up and that damn thing stays on for 5 days and I forget it's on in here.
Right.
It's,
Right.
talking about battery life, man. That little son of a bitch right there lasts forever.
Right.
Again, it just always takes. So if you're at a hunt, just seem like you can't track, stop for a second and get your kid to turn off their Bluetooth or your buddy and see if that doesn't help.
So one thing I want to get you to maybe debunk, and I don't know if you can or can't. It's a question that always seems to be brought up at every field trial I'm at. Can you, if you have a collar out there in a field trial or wherever, can somebody else shock or tone that dog?
Your odds are very, very slim, and I'll tell you why. And there's been a couple times where pre-programming came out, like we found that was it was a batch of collars, which maybe a year ago, or what had happened. So typically, how a collar works is when you first program into your box, every time you program one in, it is a random. Imagine pulling a slot machine. So there's no rhyme or reason to which one it picks.
Right.
And so when you do that, there is multiple train codes for each track code.
Okay.
So again, you have a shitload of train codes, and that's why sometimes you could be on the same ID, but it's not going to be the same. It could be a different train code and a different track code.
Gotcha.
But typically, the odds of getting both. Now, there has been a couple times in history where boxes or collars, when you did it, had a tendency to where that really good rhythm didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
Most of your new stuff and all now, it would be very, very hard for that to happen, but it has. So do not get me wrong. I have seen it. It's still pretty rare.
Gotcha.
And again, we don't ever recommend, if a hunt's over, I tone, I'm one that at a hunt, a dog should already be tone broken enough to where when he hears that, he stops.
Right.
There shouldn't be too many people going out there shocking a dog afterwards.
Correct.
Anyways. And
yeah. I guess more or less tone, because some people, like you said, will tone, to make them stop. There's other reasons to tone and stuff like that. And I guess that was one thing that I've heard a lot of people question. And I've had instances where I'm in a pen trying to catch a dog up, and I'm tracking a dog and it's getting close to me, and I'm toning and nothing, and it's the completely wrong dog. But the signal had pinged. It was tracking a different collar, but it never toned it. So,
yeah, that's what I was saying. Now you will get that now, and there's been times in the past when you're pinging collars, and I don't know how many of y'all seem to like to drive track. I've had it pinging collars back and forth so damn fast that you couldn't even see your screen.
Yes.
Because the lines had drawn, so everywhere these two dogs are running, it's making this really cool butterfly look. Right. But damn, you can't see it on the screen.
Yep.
I'm in there their race tracks, and and that's something too we've seen. It definitely is getting better and better. I don't see that like I used to, and there was a time when, man, it just seemed like, I had to go in and turn my tracks off. And you never knew which dog was yours till you caught one of them.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
But it also got to where, so you got to sometimes be careful what you ask for. So we had gone in there and explained the problems to the engineers. Mm-hmm. Well, next thing you know, I'm getting a whole lot more question marks on the dogs. And so the engineers, he can fix that. So what it did, it wouldn't track either dog worth a damn if you had two of them. And I'm like, well, look, I'd rather know where both dogs are. So if one's getting near an interstate, I can go over there and make sure, especially on the outside.
Yep.
Just a safety issue. I don't want a question mark until I figure it out. So, that's been back and forth, but I can say now, they are definitely getting better and better at maintaining your collar. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it's definitely a whole lot better. I'm not seeing, it's so remote. It's so rare now when I get bouncing back and forth. And it's definitely getting better, right. And it's definitely maintaining, it's tracking dogs way better, even if there is interference.
Gotcha. All right. Well, one more question on the collars. Then I want to ask you, and this is another one. Okay. I hear a lot of talk back and forth on whether or not it's true or not. Some people will take the prongs out and run their dogs. Does that open the risk for water getting internal and
No,
fry.
absolutely zero.
Okay.
Now, what it will do is when you go to put your damn prongs back in, if you got a bunch of dirt inside there, guess what happens when you have dirt and threads?
Right.
So, don't be surprised. You've got to work on cleaning, and a lot of people put a piece of tape over them, but it's a completely sealed unit. So if you actually look in there in the threads, that is a sealed. It's just a little block. So it's not a hole behind those.
Gotcha.
So I know, hell, what are you talking? Anymore, it seems like if I don't remember to go in there and put a little bit, prongs fall out all the time.
Right. So,
I'm terrible. If you actually go in, that's another thing. When you get new collars and all, and they used to have a little drop of silicone on the threads of every single one. Mm-hmm. But if you go out there and just put a little teeny drop of silicone or gasket material or any of that and let it dry a little bit before you put it in, they will never back out. But if you don't, a lot of that stuff from the factory. So I can tell you, I'd have a lot of dead collars. I put them on the other day, and there was one missing 2 prongs.
Right.
So Emmy's been running, and we run in a lot of water. So I can tell you if that was an issue, but it's not. So
gotcha.
They're completely sealed. But do remember, if you take them out and you're running a lot, you've got to worry about that little hole filling up with mud and dirt, and it's going to be a pain in the butt to get your prongs. You're going to have either spray it loose or when you do want to put a set of prongs back in it.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Well, good. I know that was one of the great debates of that was the 2 great debates I've always heard about collars is the prong and being out and water getting in, and then being able to tone somebody else's collar. So I'm glad you were able to kind of clear that up for everybody.
No, and that is, and and those are good questions. Both of those are. And those are issues that we hear, same thing all the time. And they used to actually put a little rubber gasket in with the collars that you could put over the prongs.
Right.
But man, you couldn't run one. It just wouldn't last for long. The way it sat in there. So we'd take a little, if you wanted to stay at all, you could take a little bit of, what's the glue that gets sticky on both sides and you put stuff together with it? Not plumber's glue. It's the when it starts to dry, it makes it like a booger. It's
like a weather stripping adhesive is almost like kind of what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about, but I can't. I'm brain farting on the
same stuff we used in school, and I'm getting a brain fart on it too. But you could do a little bit of that, and it would help that rubber thing stay.
Gotcha.
But really, anything if you pull them out, just know if you want to put your prongs back in, you're probably going to have to go in there and rinse it really good and clean those out, and you're good.
Gotcha. So let's go to our last little topic right here. This is our closing topic, and this is something I really wanted to ask. And I try to ask some people, and so where do you see the sport 10 years from now? We're fighting all these issues, and we have all this technology coming. Maybe good or bad, and I know it's an impossible thing to accurately guess. But in your eyes, where do you see the sport going?
For my kids, I hope the sport hasn't changed a bit in 10 years. Unfortunately, I don't see that being the case. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's going to have to do with it. I hate to say, but it's people need to listen. It is going to have to do with the participation that we get. Obviously, the people we put in power is going to have the same thing. It's that has just as much to do. I would love to see, and I'm really going to fight. And I'd love to see more people fight, and I'm there. I would love to see it presented and see if we cannot get pins back in Virginia. That would really help the field trial side of the sport. And that's something that, that's, like I said, my daughter absolutely loves it. I've been field trialing now for, I think we said about 18 years. And again, the sport got sidewinded here in Virginia back when they changed the laws. And then, of course, it was short time after that. The same people that made those laws went after a bunch of pins and, basically went in and threatened with really, really, really big charges if they didn't close the pin down. And, what some of them had done wasn't right. And I thought some of us were game had been gotten across state lines. And, but at the end of the day, that was all really pre-planned out. And so, once they got it to where they couldn't get any more pins in the state, they started tackling and really, really going after the ones that were there.
Right.
And so it has made it to where, again, we were talking about, it's hard to find a pin to run in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people do go over the line that live closer, but unfortunately, Virginia is a huge state. Doesn't everybody live close to North Carolina?
Right.
And so, again, here's what I'd love to see, and this is what I'm hoping, is in the next couple of years, we can really get in and get a bill presented that will let people start putting them. Again, they're so big on land rights right now. If I want to put on a pin on my property in Virginia and I want to go by the laws, it really should not. It shouldn't be held against me because somebody 10 years ago decided that they wanted to sign off on my rights in the future.
Right.
So I really think we have a pretty good case to get back. We pay to have coyotes shot at night and, however, but yet, we don't want to have pins in places that can be put. And not only are you going to create revenue for the state, but you're also going to help control, some of that predator problem that we have on the outside. And so here's where I think it'll be. I think some laws are going to change. I think the outside is going to be more difficult in 10 years.
Right.
I just don't see it staying the same, and it might be something as simple as, right retrieve is a little different, or it could be something very small, or it could be as massive as something like happened in Georgia where, you've got to have 1,000 continuous acres, and you've got to have stickers on your truck, and you're liable for what your dogs do. And unfortunately, if it's like that, it's going to basically be a rich man's sport, and none of us going to be able to afford to do it unless you've got thousands of acres somewhere that you don't have somebody's little piece of property up in the middle of. And so that's what we're going to pray, and that is what we need to fight really hard. And there are some things that can be changed, and I don't think it would even help the sport. But now with the technology that we have, the ability to know where dogs are all the time, even a game warden has the ability now to be able to take a handheld and you can say, look, I didn't drop on their property.
Right.
And so it's the problems that they've been fighting for a long time. A lot of them now are just being addressed with the new technology. And so, again, it's a shame that they're trying to fight it now. They'd had a lot better fight in the past, but we also are changing, and, the way these cities are growing and the way just the way people vote in Virginia is starting to really, really affect us. So, y'all remember that. I mean, it's very important. Anybody listening to this podcast that runs dogs that doesn't get out there and vote or doesn't try to help and participate, that's what's killing the sport. And when we went to Richmond, yet there's, hundreds of thousands of people that at least hunt with dogs or go to pins, and there's tens of thousands. And when 200 people show up at a huge rally at Richmond, I mean, really, that's very, very disappointing. We should have 10,000 people there.
Right.
And that's how we're going to keep the sport if we really want it. So, it's, we're all, I mean, there's a group in that fights hard, and we'll stay going to Richmond, and we try to support everything every year. And we myself and a lot of the associations, they donate to the delegates. We're in there. We get our hands in. We explain how everything works and all that. And, but a small group cannot do all that themselves. So, it needs a lot of participation, and and that's one thing. The field trialing world, I really feel sometimes that we get the least participation out of that, and I kind of think sometimes that's because of the way it's been set up. They feel they can't improve anything, as well as they don't feel like they're going to be effective. But I can promise you, you've always got somebody chopping on you, and I really think if we can get in there and we can get a good crowd and a good fight, we can start adding more pins back in Virginia, and I truly, truly believe that. I don't think it's going to be – I think we've got people in there right now, and I know we've got a good group in the Virginia Hunting Dog Alliance, and I was talking to Johnny Morris the other day. There's a big group in that they would love to see the pins come back in there. I mean, that is something that they really want to fight for. It's just going to be getting the right time when we're not defending everything else.
Gotcha.
But if we have more people and more participation, it's something that can be started right now.
Right.
And one group can fight one thing and another group can start working on it.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier when you said that. I was like, man, it's almost like we need a whole nother organization that doesn't, focus on the fight to protect. You need a whole nother organization that completely ignores that. Not necessarily ignore it, but that's not their priority. Their priority is going on the offense to try to get us more rights and to try to get us, get pins back in Virginia and that kind of stuff.
Well, and I hate to say it, there's a lot of truth to it. A really, really good defense sometimes is a great offense.
Right.
And so, sometimes that's what we've talked about it many a time. If we put them on the offense of, hey, we want to add this and, we don't have a training season and all that, it'll help them start to forget about attacking and taking away from us. And instead, it'll let them fight on their adjoining. Hey, I don't want any more. Right. And you know what? If anything, it does not hurt going on the offensive. I'm telling you. But right now, it's a limited group of guys up there, and that is any participation. Again, everybody's busy. God forbid. I know. I'm sitting there working on another house right now. We're in our busy season. Right. It always gets. But at the end of the day, you got to remember, I still found time to go up to Charlottesville. If it's what you really love to do, if you can make it to run dogs every Saturday, damn it, you should be able to make it to, a function when it's in Richmond every 6 months, or make it to your local chapter when they have a meeting, or make it to a banquet when they're trying to raise money for the dogs. And all those are things that are going to really, really help keep the sport. So
yep.
At the end of the day, if you don't do anything, you sure as hell can't bitch when it's gone.
That's right. And just a reminder for everybody listening too, it's Thursday, correct? Is the next meeting? Yes.
Thursday. Yes, Thursday.
October 26th at 9 a.m. If you can't, there's 3 different ways you can participate. You can go there, be in person. You can sign up to participate in the online link, and then you can also just write in and I have it posted on my Facebook on the Hounds Tales Facebook page. So y'all be sure to check that out and just do whatever you can to help. I like you just said, I know it's damn near impossible for people on a Thursday at 9 a.m. to be up there, but even if you can be there via whatever, the online or whatever, or if you can't do that at all, send in something. Do whatever you gotta do.
And I will tell you, we're going to go back to the flip-flops real quick. I did go up to Richmond one morning, and it happened to be about 20 degrees colder in Richmond than it was where I left here. I think I was in Chesapeake at the time. It was either Chesapeake or Virginia Beach. And I will tell you, it's one of the few times in my life I'm pretty sure I came close to losing toes. So when you stand outside, I would highly recommend looking at the weather before you go if you're going to wear flip-flops. That is the one time. Oh, my Lord.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
I had jeans and I had a big sweatshirt, a jacket, and I'm in flip-flops, and oh, my Lord, did I pay. Oh, it was
man.
bad. So,
you were probably dying to get inside that build.
Oh, and I didn't get in either. That was a problem. Ooh. That was one of the times that was great. It was that was when we started the Hunters of Orange up there, where everybody started wearing the orange hats, and they let, I think, about 150 people made it. But there was about 300 of us outside, and I struggled through it, made it the whole time. But again, I'm just. So anybody that wants to wear flip-flops when it's 25 degrees in the morning in Richmond, I heavily advise against it.
Right. Right.
Sure. That was one of the worst ones ever. I'll tell you. That was. Yep.
Oh, man. Well, we are at the hour and 45-minute mark. Look, I brought my dinner out here because I thought I could eat it. It's cold. So I brought soup. I'm not going to lie. I brought a cold beer out with me. That's been gone forever, so that's gone. Well, we should have done this. We should have done this in person. We might have been half tore up by the time we got this one done.
Yeah, we might have to do it again sometime. That'd be absolutely wonderful. When you come down here in the swamp season, I'd love for you to get on a podcast and tell people how different it is here versus
absolutely,
there.
Absolutely. We'll make that happen.
Anytime you want to come down, we've got a place for you to stay. Of course, we got the pen here if you ever want to come down and run. And we'd love to have you. That'd be fun.
That'd be awesome, man. I definitely appreciate that. Well, let me go ahead and close this out. Like I said, I appreciate everybody for listening. Man, this was awesome. I really did enjoy it, and I hope everybody listening enjoyed it. So, like always, we'll catch y'all again next time.
Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a great night.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And everybody, happy hunting.